Hi, I'm Stewart Acuff from Jefferson County, West Virginia. I have a question for all of us and for Senator Manchin today, and that is, what do you call a Democrat who opposes voting rights? There's a very apt word for it. It's called a Dixiecrat. And Joe Manchin is a Dixiecrat, and so is Kirsten Sinema. We ought to just say it like it is. Poverty brings its own barriers and burdens to voting. And poverty just got worse in West Virginia because of the sunsetting of the child tax credit. Poverty makes it harder for us to vote, particularly in a rural state like West Virginia, and even more so because of the topography and the geography of our state, with so many people living in the country in hard to get places, in deep hollers between tall mountains, no reliable transportation. And the poorer you are, the less reliable your transportation is, and hardly any public transportation in our state. So many low-income voters don't have child care when they have to go vote. We don't have same-day voting, registration and voting. And our people who make the minimum wage have to work 68 hours a week just to afford an apartment. Now, if you are a single mother raising a couple of kids and you're working two jobs for a total of 65 to 75 hours a week and you don't have child care, how do you have a right to vote? Without access to the ballot, you don't have an effective right to vote. So what do we need? We need the policies outlined in both of the voting rights bills in the Congress today. We need universal mail-in. We need same-day voting and registration. We need no excuse mail-in ballots. If we are going to have an effective political democracy, we have to have the right to vote. And our people want to vote. We are poor people, low-income people make up 40% of our people. 50% of our children live in low-income households. But of our 50% of low-income people in West Virginia vote. So we want to vote. But we have to have access to the ballot, and that's what this public policies outlined in our legislation would do. Let me just finally say and remind Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin that a Democrat who opposes the right to vote, and I mean opposes in reality, not saying, well, you would vote for it if there wasn't a filibuster. If you believed in it, you'd end the filibuster so we could get a vote on voting rights. And how can we pretend to be a democracy if all our people don't have the same access to the vote? I'll be done with this. There's a wonderful word to describe folks who call themselves Democrats, but do not believe in low income and equality of access to the ballot. And that is a Dixiecrat. And we got two Dixiecrats standing in the government house door, in the Capitol House door, keeping our people from access to democracy. Thank you.
We welcome you to the launch of the Mass Poor People's Low-Wage Assembly and Moral March on Washington, D.C., June 18, 2022.
And we need to do it with the biggest actions possible.
Because we know the only scarcity is the moral will to do what's right.
Veterans across this nation say enough is enough.
My voice is just as valuable as anyone else's. We need the third Reconstruction.
We have an immoral system run by immoral people.
But together we fight.
And we become an agent of change.
We're rising up to demonstrate the compelling power that we, poor and low-income people, have to reconstruct society from the bottom up. It's time for a change!
We are people of resilience.